Hey there, it's MikeMoore. I got something that's not gaming related for you today. I talked a little bit about making a speed model video a while back, and that's what this is going to be, if you couldn't tell by the title. It's going to be the main character for the game I'm working on, the character that you as the player will be playing. And I just thought I'd record it and see what you guys thought, and if this gets any kind of traction and you guys seem to enjoy it, then I'll probably make more. So let's get going with this. So usually when I'm making this kind of thing, I'll make a little rough sketch in a program called Mischief that I've got, and that just makes it a lot easier to bring the picture in here and have it behind so I can have a little reference image. Usually I'll start with a shape like a circle if it's something that's going to be cartoony, and I was going for a cartoony kind of look when I was making this robot. When I first started, I didn't know where I was going with it really. But it sort of started to develop a shape later on. This bottom part that I've got here, it really started to look like a diaper as I went on. I didn't know at all how to. You could see on the sketch in the background. I'll put an image up here so it's not flashing around for you. The sketch of the background, it had a very distinct shape, but I didn't know how to transfer that into a 3D version. So I got really confused, but eventually things switched up that you'll see here in a few minutes. This is my first real attempt with making a mech. I've made a few in the past. If you're a follower of my Twitter page, you'll see a few that I've animated and created, but none of them have been too amazing. This one does get animated by the end. I'll show some clips of the animation when we're at the end of the video if you guys are interested in seeing that kind of thing. But most of this is just going to be the process of modeling. You'll see here the diaper. I removed the diaper because I just couldn't stand it anymore. And went with a new shape, semicircle. It is at this point that the thing that I'm making turns into something that looks nothing like the sketch in the background, so I just hid the sketch altogether because I knew where I was going with this. I put this tank gun on it for some reason. I have no idea why I did it. It didn't take very long to model. It doesn't stay there in the final model, but it looks kind of neat. You can see the arms coming into shape here. That's pretty cool. The arms actually get deleted later on, but it was just more so for me to have a general shape to work on. These are a flamethrower that I had from another project I was working on that never ended up going anywhere, but I just stuck the flamethrower on there because it looked nice, and you know, flamethrowers, man, they're pretty cool. I was talking to a friend about mechs prior to starting work on this, and he said one of the things that really bothers him about a lot of mechs and mechas is they don't use ball joints, so they can't get that full range of movement even though they still move that way, so the animations just look totally off. And that's what convinced me to start using the ball joints in the legs and the arms there so they can get a full range of movements. But the arms don't actually move that much. The body spins on that middle part there, the ribbed middle part. Ribbed for your pleasure. What I'm doing here with the legs isn't actually modeling. These are bones. So I don't know if you guys are too versed in this kind of thing, but bones are something that you can meld or weld to a model so they control the animations of it. So if you look at something like Source Filmmaker or something like that, people aren't actually moving the arms or the fingers. There's like little bones that are associated with certain parts of the mesh, and those move around and you get to see what each part does and how each moves with the bones. So you animate the bones and then the mesh just kind of comes along with it. For the longest time, I spent a few days trying to figure out what to do with the legs. This is, I think, day 2 or day 3 at this point, and I couldn't figure out how to make legs look good. Legs are the hardest part for me when I'm making a mech, and this attempt here, they looked really beefy, and like they would work on something that isn't so cartoony, but it didn't look good here. The mech had such a round, cartoony, fun feel to it, and the hard, big, square legs just didn't fit, so I started over doing something else here. So you can see me sticking a cylinder in there on the joints. And of course ball joints, as I said, ball joints are good. Feet are another hard part about modeling mechs for me. Feet I have a lot of issues with because it's hard to connect the, it's hard to visualize how the feet will connect at the ankle to the leg. And you can see with the bones that I made, if you remember back to where I was moving around the leg bones and trying to figure out what the legs should look like, I didn't have a foot in there at all, I just had the legs. So it was tough for me to finally find something to put in there, but this iteration did get stuck in. This is the head I've got going here now, and I just put a little semicircle on the top with with eyes, because eyes are cool. With these, I got one of the, you know, Gage from Fallout 4. I'll put a picture of him up here for you. I was going for kind of like a girder look, like the bumper of a car, like his armor has. And I couldn't get it to look right with the curves, so I eventually just scrapped it. But this is here what it looks like. when you render something in Blender, it uses all of your CPU, and my recorder, of course, uses CPU to record what's going on the screen. So if I'm rendering something at the same time as recording, the recorder just dies. So you'll get like 3 frames a second, which isn't a huge issue because, you know, it's sped up, so you won't really notice a difference. But yeah, here what I'm doing is sticking a spring onto the leg because springs are cool, and it took me a while to get it nice and smooth and nice looking, but you can see here it finished up quite nicely. And just some detailing and supports. I don't do a lot of detailing early on. I usually leave that to the end of a mesh because sometimes you decide that you don't like the way something is shaped, so you switch it up later. But the legs kind of needed to look a little beefier. So I did a little bit here, sticking the struts on and everything, making it look nicer. You'll notice at the top of the legs there, they're really quite skinny. So eventually I go on to make them a little thicker as well, make everything look a little more balanced out. The grease pencil in Blender is really cool because you can just draw on top of things and hide it. So it's just good for inspiring yourself and figuring out what you're gonna do with a mesh. Here I was trying to make a universal joint. This is a universal joint that I've got up on the screen now, and they're really interesting, but you can rig them in Blender, but it would be too complicated for a game engine to deal with, so it was just kind of a visual effect that I thought would be kind of neat. But universal joints are very good for moving things in multiple directions, so that's what I decided I would hook up the legs to the feet with at the ankle. I thought it looked pretty neat. And the feet are very basic right now. They look a little bit frog-like. Now they're gone altogether because I decided I didn't like them. This is starting into the final iteration of the feet that I've got here. I expand on those quite a bit and eventually get what I want them to look like. But that kind of frog 3-toed style that I have there, that's what I ended up going with. Here's what I was talking about, making the armor look a little thicker and beefier. I put some actual armor plating on the leg to make it look nicer, and I almost stick exactly to that shape there that I drew out. Not on the back, the little cone thing, I tried to model it here, you'll see, and it didn't turn out, so I instead tried this little shell kind of thing over the back knee. What would that be called? The back joint? Is it a knee if you have 2 of them? I don't know. I'll have to ask an ostrich biologist, is what I'll have to do. Those little nubbins I put on the end of the back leg armor that you can see here, those were kind of like my idea, as they would sort of like a doorstop. When you open the door too far, they'd knock into the door instead of just sitting still and your door slamming into the wall and making a hole. Those would be like a rubber type of thing. So when your leg goes up too high, it like knocks off the top of the mech instead of damaging it. And that's what I put those there for. Not functional at all. They don't really do anything, but they look nice. And see, I restarted the foot here, but I'm still going for the same shape. I really like the grease pencil. I feel like it's nice for you guys as well. It kind of shows my thought process while I'm going through the modeling and trying to figure out what shape everything should be, instead of just making something and deleting something and making something and deleting something. And if you have any experience with being creative at all, I imagine you're very versed in the process of deleting something over and over again until you like it, and that's something that I do a lot in 3D modeling. Luckily, Blender is very simple and it's very easy to make shapes over and over again, so it's not a huge deal. So this is basically the finished product. So now starts the bone process. I don't know how much of this I'll leave in. The bone creating is quite a boring process. I'll leave this in here for you, and I'll talk over it because it's sort of interesting. I don't know if you guys will like it, but it's not something that's really enjoyable to watch if you're not into this kind of field. I had a lot of trial and error with this because it's 3-jointed and I've only ever done human style skeletons before, so it was tough to get the movements working, but eventually I got it. While I'm doing all this bone shenanigans, I hope you don't mind me getting off topic for a little bit. I want to talk about a style of movie that's been coming out recently. The sort of like alien clone movies where people go out into space and they find this life form, and the life form just wants to murder everything. There's a movie that came out really recently called Life, and it for some reason it really bothered me, because it's just putting this thought into people's heads that space is terrifying and we should never go there because everything wants to kill us. And the movie currently has like a 7.0 or something on IMDb, so that's like right on the borderline, in my opinion, of being a bad movie. If you descend into the 6.9 and below range, you're a bad movie. Most of the time. There are exceptions that people have just hated. But this tendency to just spread fear and fearmonger over movies that... Well, not over movies. This tendency to fearmonger over space, it really bothers me, because like space is a good thing. Like there's resources out there, there's new planets out there, and we've like irreversibly destroyed our planet, so we should probably go somewhere, because we're eventually gonna get, even if you don't believe in global warming, like we're gonna get overpopulated eventually, so space is good. Space is good for us to go away and not come back. But like these movies have just started this trend of putting it into like young impressionable people's heads that space is bad and we shouldn't go there, and I think that's a really bad thing. I don't know, it really bothers me. There's been a lot of movies in the past that have bothered me just because they do that like suspension of disbelief thing. Like there was one movie a while back called Project Almanac that they basically made a time machine. No, they found a time machine and they made it work by taking the graphics card out of an Xbox, hooking it up to a CRTV, and then hooking that CRTV up to a time machine. And like, all of a sudden they could travel through time. And it was directed by some random guy, and Michael Bay was also there directing it too. And it was just, that movie bothered me, because it's like, that's not how TVs work. But like, this whole life thing, this thing where just spreading fear on something that's really good, that bothers me too. It really gets on my nerves. So I just had to get that off my back. I don't know if I'm alone in that. I've talked to a few people about it, and not a lot of people seem to have too much of an opinion on it. But like, I like space. You know, it's terrifying, but it's good. It's good stuff, and we should probably pursue that. If you've been paying attention to the picture at all, the thing that's going on the screen, there's been a few instances of the mech turning certain colors, like they're blue and purple and red, like you see here. That's weight painting. So the bone that I have selected, the bone being that blue or yellow or black box, I'm painting the mesh to be stuck to that bone. So you can see here as I'm moving the bones around, the mesh comes with it. So you can weight paint one part of the mesh to any number of bones. So let's say you have like the upper leg and the lower leg, and you want a human knee that, you know, skin stretches, right? So you want a human knee to kind of like stretch between them as the leg bends. I'm making hand motions to explain what's going on, but you can't see them. But anyway, you want the skin to stretch, so you can weight that knee part on both the upper leg and the lower leg bone. So as the knee bends, the skin actually goes towards both parts of the bone, so it doesn't move like a robot. Now, in this case, which is a robot, everything is metal, so it's not stretchy. So I take certain chunks of the mesh and just stick them all to one bone. So weight painting is a lot easier on this kind of thing. It's the same with like a gun. If you do a reload animation, you have like a clip bone, and then you have the gun and the stock. And like if it's a pump action, you would have a bone that touches the pump action, and that would be for when you're reloading. It would move that part of the. That's how animations are done. It's most of the time. Sometimes it's different. Now, in the modeling process, I've descended into detailing, and you'll see that I've got new arms here. I don't believe I recorded the arms. They're a separate part from the mesh. You'll see in the game later on, if I decide to include that in this video, that the arms are actually interchangeable. So this version of the arm isn't actually permanent. There's like modular guns that you can stick in and out of this thing that I'm modeling now. The idea was sort of like a drill. You know how you take a drill and you twist the bit into it with the black part on the drill? That's the same as here. Like you twist that black part and it gets tighter around the gun, so you can kind of like shove them in and shove them out. Not actually functional, but it looks nice. So. Alright, so we're at the point now where I'm about to go into the game engine side of things, so you're going to see how everything's going to play. This is going to be the first peek into the actual game that I'm working on. But before I show you all that, I've done some Unreal Engine magic to make it look a lot more nice and cartoony. So I want you to look at this walk animation I've got here in Blender, where it's just all boring and black and that kind of thing. And then I'm going to switch over to Unreal Engine here in a second, and I'll show you what that's like. So have a look here. And now check this out. So we're in the actual game now. We're in Unreal Engine. I've whipped up a super default map with some shipping containers and this cool little forklift I made, and these fucking trash mobs with top hats on. And you can see I've got different guns on the mech now, so it can shoot out of the guns. This is all super default, and I've just made the really basic map here, just to show you that everything's in here is working. I've got the walk animation when he's going slow, and as you push the stick further on, he goes a little faster, and you can turn him around while he's running, and you can also run into walls when that happens, so that's cool. Yeah, this is all very nice. Here we go. Alright. So I've ejected here. You can see these two spiders, they just want to touch me all the time, you know. Let me get my mouse off the screen. So you can get a nice look at the way I've set the gun up. We've got the nice glowy textures on the mech end with the eyes. And I've got this sort of cell shading thing going here that I set up in Unreal Engine. And I think that looks really nice. I'll have to get some input on it, see if you guys think I should change it or anything like that. But I think it's quite nice. You can hear my coffee maker clicking in the background, so that's cool. I'm just gonna... I love this forklift. I want to show you guys the forklift. I was gonna show a speed model of the forklift, but I was having too much fun actually modeling it, so I never got around to making a video or recording any of it. But yes, this video is about the mech. You can see this very nice idle animation he's got going here. So yeah, that is the silly mech, the super mech. Maybe. Haven't decided on a name yet. I don't know if you guys have realized, but I'm kind of bad with names. But you may have saw when I wasn't in simulate mode, or in ejected mode, that you see these two little circles on the left and right hand sides on the bottom. Those are for thumbsticks for a mobile game. I haven't bothered to turn them off when I'm using my my controller here, but I will eventually turn them off. I'm gonna publish it for PC and Android. I don't know about Apple, probably, because, you know, I've got the resources, but I don't know if I haven't got the collisions working quite right here. You can kill these guys, the mighty fine guns I've made here. I don't have a death animation though yet, so. but yeah, I'll turn those off and I'll publish it for both. And that's all I've really got to say here. So, very nice mech going on here. Look at these feet. Alright, so I'm going to leave you guys with this. This video has been going a little bit too long. So I thank you so much for watching this far, and we'll probably be seeing you again soon with another Speedmodel video, or a highlights video, or a gaming video, or any type of video really. I don't really have a schedule for this kind of thing, so we'll be seeing you soon with something. And thanks again for tuning in, and you have yourself a beautiful rest of your week. Later days.